In a small, nondescript town on the edge of the vast, indifferent ocean, there lived a solitary lighthouse keeper named Isaac. His gray hair was as unruly as the sea he watched over, and his eyes held the quiet wisdom of 1,000 untold stories. Every evening, he'd climb the winding stairs of the lighthouse, his steps echoing in the confined space, to ensure the light remained a steadfast beacon for the lost or the weary. The townsfolk knew him as a man of few words, but his presence was as constant as the tides. One peculiar night, as the moon cast a silver path on the water, something strange began to unfold. The sea grew restless, its waves crashing against the shore with an eerie rhythm. The townsfolk, accustomed to the soothing lullaby of the ocean, grew uneasy, unable to shake the feeling that something was amiss. The usually serene waters churned with a newfound vigor, and whispers of a long-lost civilization began to surface. Isaac felt the disturbance more acutely than anyone. His lighthouse, a silent sentinel for so long, seemed to vibrate with an ancient energy that resonated through its very foundation. The light flickered erratically, and he could have sworn he heard faint, ghostly whispers within its walls. He descended to the basement, where the machinery that powered the beacon resided, to find the source of the disturbance. The moment his feet touched the cold stone floor, he knew he wasn't alone. The air was thick with the scent of salt water and something else, something primal and foreign. His heart racing, he approached the machinery, his eyes scanning the room for any signs of damage or intrusion. But what he found was far beyond his worst fears. A puddle of seawater, expanding by the second, surrounded by a series of ancient symbols etched into the stone. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices speaking in a tongue he couldn't recognize, yet somehow understood in the deepest recesses of his mind. They spoke of a world beneath the waves, a realm of shadow and light where the laws of the surface did not apply, a civilization that had slumbered for millennia, now stirring from its abyssal slumber. His trembling hand reached for the light switch, but the power had gone out, leaving him in the dark with the pulsing whispers. With the beam of his flashlight cutting through the gloom, Isaac traced the symbols along the walls. They led to a hidden chamber, long sealed, now exposed by the encroaching tide. He pushed open the heavy stone door, the hinges groaning like the protests of the long dead. Inside, the room was alive with bioluminescence, casting a soft blue glow upon ancient artifacts that gleamed like stars fallen from the night sky. At the center stood an ornate pedestal, upon which lay a tome bound in what appeared to be the skin of some deep-sea creature. The whispers grew more urgent as he approached, the pages fluttering as if beckoning him closer. Despite his fear, he felt drawn to the book, a sense of duty swelling within his chest. It was clear that the lighthouse was more than a mere navigational tool. It was a gateway, a bridge between two worlds. The whispers grew into a chant, guiding him to open the tome and read aloud the incantation within. The moment the words left his lips, the room trembled. The seawater surged, flooding the chamber, and carrying with it a chilling cold that seeped into his very bones. From the depths of the water, figures began to emerge, humanoid forms shrouded in robes of kelp and seaweed, their eyes burning with an otherworldly light. Their faces were a disturbing blend of human and fish, a testament to the deep waters from which they came. Isaac stumbled back, his flashlight dropping to the floor, plunging the room into darkness once more. He felt them closing in, their ghostly hands brushing against his skin as they reached for the book. He knew that if they took it, something unimaginable would be unleashed upon the tone of horror that had been contained for eons. The lighthouse above groaned as if in agony, the very structure straining against the forces awakening within it. The water continued to rise, the ancient machinery around him hissing and gurgling as it succumbed to the sea's embrace. He had to act fast. With a strength born of desperation, he slammed the tome shut and wrenched it from the pedestal, holding it tight against his chest. The creatures, now fully revealed in the dim light, let out a collective wail of rage. Their eyes, once mesmerizing, now burned with a malevolent fury that seemed to light the room with an unearthly fire. The water around them surged and swirled, creating a maelstrom that threatened to pull him under. Thinking quickly, Isaac climbed onto the pedestal, the water now up to his waist. He knew he had to get to the surface, to the safety of the lighthouse above. The whispers grew into a roar, a cacophony of voices that seemed to be commanding him, tempting him to give in to the power of the book. But he steeled himself, refusing to become a pawn in whatever ancient game was unfolding. With the tome clutched to his chest, he swam against the current, feeling the cold embrace of the sea tug at his legs like the ghosts of the drowned sailors he had always believed were just a myth. His lungs burned as he kicked his way upwards, fighting the urge to take a breath and inhale the briny water that surrounded him. As he approached the surface, the pressure in his ears popped, and the whispers grew fainter. The water grew lighter, and soon his head broke the surface. He gasped for air, his vision swimming as he took in the chaos above. The lighthouse was now an island in a raging sea, the town below it submerged in the dark, churning waters. The creatures had followed him, their forms distorted by the waves, but their intentions clear. Isaac stumbled out of the water, the ancient tome weighing him down, and sprinted up the lighthouse stairs. The wooden steps creaked and groaned beneath his wet boots as he ascended, the salty water leaving a trail of glowing footprints. He knew he had to warn the town, but the words of the incantation echoed in his mind, hinting at a power too great to be contained by mere speech. Reaching the top, he was met with a sight that stole his breath away. The light had gone out, and in its place, a pulsing, unnatural blue light emanated from the tower's peak, casting the town in a sickly pallor. The sea had risen, and the creatures of the deep now stalked the streets, their whispers becoming screams of triumph. The townsfolk were in a panic, some trying to flee, others frozen in place, unable to comprehend the nightmare that had claimed their home. He knew he had to act fast. The lighthouse was the key to stopping this horror before it consumed them all. He turned the crank, the metal biting into his palms, and watched as the beam of light began to flicker back to life. The creatures hissed and shrank back, retreating into the shadows as the light grew stronger. The book grew warm in his hands, the ancient power within it pulsing in time with the light's rhythm. The townsfolk looked up, hope flickering in their eyes as the light cut through the dark. With the tome still in hand, Isaac stepped out onto the balcony, the wind whipping his soaked clothes around him like a flag of defiance. He raised the book high, and the light from the lighthouse grew brighter, a beacon of hope in the encroaching abyss. The creatures wailed in despair as the light grew stronger, their forms receding into the depths from which they came. The town was saved, but the price was steep. The waters receded, revealing the destruction wrought by the creatures' brief emergence. The town was a wreck, and the lighthouse stood tall, a silent sentinel once more, its secrets held close to its chest. Isaac knew he could never tell the full story of that night. It was a burden he would carry alone, a guardian of the threshold between worlds. Yet, every evening when he climbed the stairs to ensure the light remained a steadfast beacon, he could still feel the whispers, faint echoes of the world beneath the waves. The tome remained in the hidden chamber, a constant reminder of the responsibility that had been thrust upon him. He was the lighthouse keeper, the gatekeeper of a world that the town would never truly understand. And so, the whispers of the deep continued, a chilling lullaby that sang of ancient civilizations and forgotten powers. But the town remained safe, nestled in the glow of the lighthouse's ever-watchful eye. And every night, as the moon cast its silver path upon the sea, the creatures of the deep would rise once more, only to be pushed back by the unyielding light that stood between them and the unsuspecting world above.